Yeah, so we're here, summer 2022. Sean Tipton from Apta joins us. Sean, thank you for your time right across the industry and everything that's going on as we head into this sort of busy 6-week period. First and foremost, when we're talking about the Great Getaway, a lot of people will have preconceptions about maybe what they've seen over springtime, Jubilee, bank holiday weekend. The airports are saying it's not the same anymore. In your experience, is that the case?
Yeah, I think one of the very sad things about all these travel chaos stories, because there were problems at certain airports, I think that's undeniable, and that was because of the fact that so many people left the industry during the pandemic. We were actually the worst affected industry according to the Office of National Statistics. So when they saw those images, people who were looking forward to the summer holidays actually started worrying about it, which is a real shame, because it should be something that you look forward to instead. And we were certainly, our members were reporting a large increase in calls from customers saying, "Oh, what should I do? What will I be stuck in a massive queue, etc., etc." Now, the fact that we did have staffing issues, not at all airports and all airlines, but at some, that has been, I think, largely addressed. That they have gone out on big recruitment campaigns. In some cases, they've cut back on capacity to make sure that, for example, if some air crew fell ill, that they'd have extra people standing by to take their places. So largely speaking, cross fingers, this is one of the busiest weekends of the year. Apart from unfortunate scenes at Dover, things largely seem to be going pretty smoothly. So if you are heading off the next few weeks, hopefully that will reassure you that you're not going to have major problems when you get to your airport.
Of course, a lot of this is out of the hands, isn't it, of the passengers themselves. When we talk about baggage crews and all that, the security that they've got to go through to, take up positions, that's out of hand. What I've noticed as well, though, some of the conversations around things that passengers can do to make their life easier. Some showing up and having a day at the airport just to make sure that they can get through security. Of course, that means that somebody who should be on a flight or getting through security, maybe ahead of them, is actually stood behind them in a queue.
Yeah.
Maybe as passengers, we need to get a little bit smarter too.
Yeah, I think I can fully understand why people, certainly if you haven't been on an overseas holiday for like 3 years, you're going to do everything in your power to make sure you don't miss that holiday. But if you get to the airport, and we've seen this sometimes 6-7 hours earlier than you need to, you actually cause problems. First of all, because you will be causing queues that shouldn't be there, and also, it's not a great start to your holiday having to hang around the airport for hours. So take advice from the airport, from the airlines. If they say get to the airport 2 hours before, get to the airport 2 hours before. If they say 3 hours before, which I know some of them are saying, which is longer than you'd normally say, then do that. But any earlier than that, you're just going to end up hanging around the airport for hours and hours and hours, and not your fault, as I said, but that in itself can cause problems by causing queues which shouldn't really be there. And also it can cause, once you get through security, if people are there much earlier than they need to be, well, again, it's nowhere to sit. So don't get there that early. You really don't need to. The other thing as well, and this is a problem I knew would occur, because once more, we haven't been traveling for so long. I think people have forgotten some of the rules, particularly around hand luggage, which is liquids. You can only take liquids in a sealed plastic container, and those liquids can't be more than 100 milliliters. So it means things like toothpaste, whatever it happens to be. Because people have forgotten about that, we're seeing lots more bags being pulled and physically checked by the security guards. And that's because, as I said, people have forgotten the rules. And even because of the pandemic, a lot of people are taking hand sanitizers with them, and they actually count as a liquid. So if you leave that in your bag, you'll get pulled once more. Now, just to show that it's not, I'm not telling people off about this, I think it's understandable. I spoke to an ex-chief executive of Apta, who I still get on pretty well with, and he had got pulled himself. So even a man who knew everything there is to know about travel had forgotten the rules. So it's easily done, but just bear that in mind. And also when you get to security, and this is something I see a lot because I do travel a lot, people, when they get there, suddenly they start taking off their coats and taking their belts off. So if you can do that in advance, it just speeds things up. And that's obviously better for you. You get through security quicker, but it also is cumulative. It means everybody gets through security quicker.
I mean, all this speaks of, the fact that people, Sean, haven't been away in such a long time. Summer 2019 was probably the last chance that people had to get away. And I guess it feeds into the apprehension that people might have. And of course, you mentioned right at the start, we want people to be feeling good. We want people to be sort of embracing that. But you do get a sense that there is nervousness, that people aren't quite sure what they're going to get when they get to the airport.
Yeah, exactly. And there are also still COVID restrictions in some destinations. I think there's a bit of confusion around that. So that's why it's important you check that. I mean, if you book through one of our members, a travel agent or a tour operator, they'll do that for you and tell you what you need to know. But if you're going to make your own arrangements, it's very important you go to the Foreign Office and check the travel advice for that country, go to entry requirements to tell you everything you need to know. But on a more positive note, the feedback from members of the public has been incredibly positive. I mean, they really have so happy to be able to get away again. And if you look at bookings, they're actually very healthy. It's just that the problem is the fact that people are worried now that they're going to have a bad experience, and they almost certainly won't, really. And once you get overseas as well, destinations such as Spain and Greece and others as well have made massive efforts to make sure that people can get through the airports as smoothly as possible. For example, one difference you'll find is when you go to the EU, you're going to get your passport stamped, which that's going back to the 1970s, last time that happened. If you're going to Spain or France or Greece, well, they will stamp your passport. Now, the way they've tried to make that process as quick as possible is that you'll still, in most countries, use the e-gate. So that basically will check your passport in detail. So all then that the passport control people have to do, rather than looking at it in a lot of detail, let's stamp it, off you go. So my experience of queues in Europe has been pretty good, actually. They've gone fairly smoothly because they're very keen on us to come back as well. Let's not forget that. We're a very important market for many countries, particularly around the Mediterranean. And they knew Brexit was going to have an impact in that one particular way. So they've done their best to make sure that process is as smooth as possible. And bear in mind that you'll be joining a different queue now. You'll be in the all other passports queue when you get to your destination.
Just new stats out from the ONS today actually say that 1 in 3 people who travelled in the last month had some kind of flight delay. The vast majority were delays or waiting on a plane a little bit longer. How confident is the industry, Sean, that actually the experiences like that are decreasing now, and that a sense of normality is returning to airports?
Yeah, the vast majority of problems have been caused by staffing issues. So yeah, I mean, if you look at the job market, it's not just the travel industry is finding things tough. Every time I walk past a bar or restaurant where I live, there's a sign in the window saying, "We are recruiting." So it's a pretty tough market out there. Having said that, though, they have been out there recruiting new staff. I think in many cases, paying better money, bluntly. So I'm pretty confident that I'm not, through the course of the summer, I'd be amazed if we don't have some issues at one particular airport, either here or overseas. It's a very busy time of the year. And even in a normal year, you're going to get problems on occasion. And but if you look at, let's talk about flight cancellations as well, it was a big story, wasn't it? Even at the height of flights being cancelled, the average was around about 3%. Now, what that meant was 97% of flights weren't cancelled. And of the ones that were, people in the vast majority of cases were offered an alternative flight by the same airline on the same day. It happened to me. I was coming back from Athens. My flight back was at 9 o'clock in the evening. It got cancelled. So I came back at 7 o'clock in the evening. A bit annoying, but it wasn't the end of the world.
What are the big trends, Sean, that you're seeing for 2022? Have people changed their habits, or are they going for what they know because it's a much more straightforward experience? It's
a real mixture, actually. In terms of what we're seeing, there's people said to us, and this has certainly been reflected in bookings, they were either going to go back to a destination they've been to before and really missed, and that's Spain and Greece in particular. Bookings have gone through the roof there, or they wanted to go on a holiday of a lifetime. But let's not forget, if you haven't been away for 3 years, and obviously lucky if you're clearly still in employment, then people saved a lot of money up in many cases and use that and have been using that to buy very special holidays. So long haul destinations have gone up. And it surprised me when we asked this question a few months ago. A lot of people, that's 1 in 10 people, said to us they were thinking of going to Australia this year. Now, I know Australia is a very popular destination, but 1 in 10, that's massive. It really is. And I think that just goes to show that if you haven't been away for so long, the idea of a long haul destination for a long period of time is very appealing. But having said that, once we get to the end of the summer, I know that the most popular destination will be, as it always is, will be Mallorca, which is where I'm off to next month.
Sean Tipton from ABTA, thank you for your time.